that we're reaching out to the regions, that we're not too London centric. And one way to do that being, right, we know there are fabulous writers across the country. So are there people who would be happy to be regional reps and to kind of create networks, think about how to connect people in different parts of the country. And obviously things like doing Beam and going out to pitching days, we tried to get across the UK. And a lot of people who we found in the regions knew those regional reps and had started to make some of those connections. We haven't all managed to gather online, so that's one of the lovely gifts that coronavirus has given us. I know there are many negatives, but a positive being that suddenly, distances don't matter, and so here we are all on screen together. So most of our reps are with us. Some haven't been able to join. Darren from London, Faye from the southwest, so sort of right down Devon Cornwall way. And hang on, is that everybody? Yes, but everybody else is here, and we don't as yet have reps in Wales or Northern Ireland, so we're interested in those areas. But can we, I think we should start with an introduction to everybody on the screen. So we'll whiz round and reps can say where they're from, and then people who've joined us, it would be lovely to hear where you are in the country. And then we can open up the discussion. And for those of you who've been here before, these are very informal, these drop-ins. It's absolutely about what members want to ask, want to talk about, want to discuss. So, and lovely reps, if you can stick with us, that's lovely. If you need to go, absolutely understood. But Ellen, can you do the hellos round the screen?
I muted myself.
Right.
So reps, if you haven't already, I've just added your locations, but I'll go around the screen in order that you appear rather than the lovely country, because I don't know where that is. So Peter.
Hi, I'm Peter Dodsworth. I live in Buckinghamshire, and I'm the rep for South East, not including London.
So Tim.
Hello, I'm Tim. I'm a composer lyricist, and I live near Bath in a lovely little town called Bradford-on-Avon, and I am the rep for the Southwest, not including Devon and Cornwall.
Martin Coslet.
Having trouble finding the cursor there. Sorry about that. Hi, I live in Chesterfield, and I'm doing stuff with Buxton Fringe. And I'm going to be leaving this meeting in a minute, but if you want to contact me, there's an East Midlands East Midlands Mercury Facebook. Get in touch with me through that, or my email's on the website somewhere, I expect. But nice to meet you all. I'm sorry if I'm leaving a bit early.
So Matt Bugg in the north, but Pacific North.
Pacific North. So I am Yorkshire and Humberside, and not in the northeast. Although I love the northeast, it's gorgeous. No, I am Matt Bugg. I'm a theatre maker, do all sorts of things: performer, make stuff, writer, producer, kind of across boundaries. But yes, I'm in Yorkshire and Humberside.
Finn.
I am Finn Anderson, and I am in Glasgow and kind of representing Scotland, including all of Scotland.
Louise.
Hi, I'm Louise, and I live at Barton Mill, which is halfway between Carlisle and Newcastle in the northeast, and I'm the northeast rep. That's about it, really.
Becky for East Anglia.
Hello, I'm Becky, and I'm primarily a composer. I live in a little village just outside Cambridge, and so I cover East Anglia, so Norfolk, Suffolk, Cambridgeshire, Essex.
Alex.
Hello, I'm Alex. I live in Wembley, and I'm the joint representative for London.
And then who have I missed? Rachel.
Hi, I'm Rachel. I'm the rep as well, along with Alex, for London. Mainly a writer, but also producer and a vocalist.
And so today we're missing Darren, who is also part of Team London, and Martin's just had to leave for the East Midlands. And we're missing, so Faye represents Devon and Cornwall, Exeter, southwest.
You got it.
Yes, I'm learning the map of England, it's okay. And we are still looking for reps in Northern Ireland and Wales, if anyone has any suggestions.
And it feels like Birmingham and Manchester as well.
Did anyone want to own Birmingham and Manchester? Anyone?
Birmingham would be Midlands, wouldn't it?
So we have East Midlands. Do
Oh,
we
right.
have West Midlands?
West Midlands is yeah. So you really need a West Midlands and then a Lancashire, really.
And a Lancashire, yeah.
So we're missing a West Midlands. All right.
There is actually a really good scene in Manchester, which is probably why it's not reaching out to us, because it's a very good contained scene already.
And Liverpool, of course, as well.
Yeah. So it's kind of Lancashire, Merseyside, you know, that sort of, all of that really.
Yeah. So central, north, middle,
Northwest.
northwest.
West Midlands and northwest.
Extra north.
So let's hear from people who've joined us. Yes.
So people who've joined us, we've got Steve and Basil.
Yes, hello. Yeah, I'm. I feel like a sort of slight interloper in the sense of I'm not a rep as such, but I'm a writer. But it's just fascinating to see, to sort of get a sort of finger on the pulse of what's going on around the country, really. And Basil's enjoying it as well, and in just over there.
Great, thank you.
Jackie?
Oh yes, hi. I'm a composer musician. I'm trying to write a children's musical at the moment, which is not the greatest time, considering that the theatres are quiet, to put it mildly. But it's lovely to connect. I live in Oxfordshire. It's lovely to see you all.
So we've got Chris.
So Oxfordshire. So I'd say you're in Peters territory. Yes.
Oxfordshire, yes.
Yeah.
Burford, yes.
And where was Steve? Does Steve know?
Oh yes, forgive me. Yeah, I'm in the East London, Hackney.
East London, Hackney. So your reps would be Darren, who's not with us, Alex, and Rachel. Next, we've got Chris Brindle.
Hi. So I'm in Colchester, and well, I do everything really. I write, cast, direct, produce. I had quite an interesting week because my stuff's been picked up by local radio and they're playing it extensively. That might be an interesting thing to come back to, the possibilities of local radio.
Excellent. And so your rep would be,
That'd be me.
Becky.
Yeah, fantastic. That's great news.
Wonderful. Lots to chat about. Ian.
Hi, can you hear me? Thumbs up. Yeah, so I'm a songwriter. I'm based in that area we were talking about that doesn't have a rep really, South Manchester.
Which one? Manchester, yeah.
So yeah, I've got a couple of musicals in the works. I'm a BML advanced member along with Neil, who's just appeared at the bottom of the screen on my computer.
Hi.
Someone mentioned the wonderful scene in Manchester. I think it was you, Matthew. If you can tell me any more about that, I'd love to tap into it because I haven't found it yet.
Excellent. So just joining us. So sorry, next we have Eric.
Yeah, hi. I'm also from Lancashire, northwest area. I'm a new member to the group. Dabble in writing musicals, but my core at the moment is actually entertaining in care homes, or has been, I should say, entertaining in care homes. So now I've moved on to doing Zoom sessions, which I'm hoping to explore with a view to offering those to care homes at some stage. So I'm piano singer, and I create my own material for that.
And you were from the Lancashire area as well.
Yeah,
so
it's quite interesting that Ian is in South Manchester. Yeah, it would be wonderful to have some. Obviously, I'm not an experienced member of the group, but it'd be lovely to actually connect with people to the nature in my neck of the woods. You know, for meetups and things like that.
Yeah, I agree with you, Eric. We'll try and hook up somehow.
Yeah. How do you want me to send me my details, whatever, at the end of the message or the meeting?
Yeah, we could use the chat. I can put an email address in there for you if you want.
That'd be lovely. Yeah, I'll send you my email as well. Yeah.
Okay.
Cool. Thanks again. Thank you.
That's what these drop-ins are for. So success.
Yeah.
Just joining us was Neil.
Hi. Are we doing introductions?
We are. So just where you're from.
Yeah. I live in London. And I've written one musical that's unproduced, and I'm writing another one. And I'm BML and MMD, and I see there's Rachel from BML. Are you still doing librettists?
Yeah.
Cool. And yeah, I just dropped in because it's my lunch hour. I'm lucky I've got a day job, so I've just come to. I don't know if I've got anything to add, but to listen to see what's going on.
So
Lovely
Neil,
to see you, Neil.
Neil,
You
your
too.
London reps are Rachel and where have you gone?
Alex.
Alex. And Darren Clark, who's not on the call at the moment.
Okay.
So now you know our groups.
I know. Where's Rachel?
Yeah, she's on.
Oh, Rachel, sorry. Hi, Rachel.
That Rachel.
Right, the Rachel I know, sorry.
Yes.
Great,
Sorry.
cool.
So
And
it
I know Darren Clark as well, so.
So it is a big call. So some of you might find that if you're on your computer, there are arrows to toggle between the screens because we do have a few people on. And so lastly, we've got Russell, who's just joined us.
Oh, hello. I'm from the Cotswolds. Sorry, it came out wrong. The Cotswolds. And I have written several musicals as a school teacher in secondary school. And I've now retired from secondary school teaching and have more time to spend promoting the last musical I wrote. And it's really, really difficult, obviously, even given the COVID situation. So feeling very despondent, but wanting to see what's going on here, just dropping in really.
Great, well, thank you for coming along. I think in lots of these drop-ins, motivation's been a big part of that, and it's, all acknowledge it's a really tough time, and people have been going about trying to be creative in very varied ways, and there's no right and there's no need for anybody to produce anything at this time, I think, but I think there's also conversations around how we can all support each other, and how to keep motivated. So welcome everyone. I was thinking I'm giving you to Peter as well. Peter, you're getting.
I would think Cotswolds would probably be more southwest, wouldn't it? Really? Not to be fighting over you, Russ.
Okay.
We'll do half a week each.
Cirencester, not Bristol. I mean, it's
Yeah.
sort of...
Yeah.
Okay.
You're in I'm in Bradford, so we're in the same county.
Yeah, I think we do probably need to do a little bit of a map and kind of go, this is what we're talking about in terms of the regional reps. But I also think there's a sort of openness, and Matt said something earlier about you might be a Yorkshire writer, a writer from Yorkshire, but you're working in London, but you really identify with Yorkshire and would possibly love to be back there working and writing. So actually, it makes a lot of sense for you to be in the Yorkshire group, even if you're not actually living there.
And also, actually, it's just near for me to get to Scotland as it's get to London. So actually, it's like the connection takes me because the opportunity is to London all the time. But actually, there's no reason why I wouldn't be in Scotland. It's as near.
Yeah. So
and nicer. Sorry, London. I love you really.
So we're aiming for each of the regions to have a Facebook page, and that's very much about trying to connect people up and trying to be able to share these various things you're doing. That lovely kind of Ian Eric moment there of just going, well, actually you can easily connect up, but you need to kind of know who's out there, and if MMD can facilitate that, that's absolutely what we want to be doing. I think it was an interesting example in terms of Manchester I just wanted to pick up on, because in the last year we had PRS funding to set up labs in both Glasgow and Manchester, and this again was part of this whole remit to go, come on, we've got to be more national, and I know labs are very much about the people that set them up and how the momentum goes and who's there to be part of a lab. But in Glasgow, Finn was part of that lab, and from what I understand, it went pretty well. Quite a lot of people linked up. They were able to share work, and another thing for MMD was that by going out and doing the beam pitches, that the hope was that these labs would lead to more people pitching for Beam. And I think that absolutely happened in Glasgow. You know, it was a much better turnout and much higher quality, and far more Scottish companies got into Beam this time round. So that was a really positive process. In Manchester, it was harder. And again, there's always lots of reasons for this, but it was a small group did keep going, but it wasn't nearly as productive as the Glasgow group. So we're looking at launching these regional groups again. And it's just so interesting what you said, Ian, about Manchester. There are people there. We know there are some fabulous writers. We know actually some of those in that group have now moved to London, but potentially could be part of a Manchester group if it's online, you know. So I think that's something that we absolutely want to try and do, is to to cultivate those and support labs in various places. So I guess with that in mind, just as a sort of general discussion point, thoughts about events that could be happening regionally. Does anybody have any thoughts or great desires to be part of or set up what might be open mic nights online? So say we're all going to still be in this world, which we probably will be for a good few months. Could an open mic night work online? Could a lab work online? Again, I know on this screen there are some people who have been doing things like this during lockdown, so it would be lovely to hear if anyone's got any thoughts on those sort of event type things, or any other types of event. Yeah, Becky.
And just a plug, big thumbs up for Lab Online. Works really well, and you're able to kind of share work with the group in advance, maybe is best when it's online, so people have been able to listen, or you can share screen and still do reading of scenes or whatever online on Zoom. That seems to be a really great thing, that a really positive thing that we can do in these times, in our situation at the moment.
So that's already happening, is it, as part of MMD?
So that particular lab, that's the advanced, the writing lab.
Yes,
that lab.
yes, yeah.
Which, and interestingly, so there have been two labs that are, I'm sorry to say, very London centric, although we were trying to balance those out obviously with the Manchester and the Glasgow ones. And out of the two London labs, one hasn't kept going during lockdown and the other's going double the speed. So the lab that Becky's talking about have actually been meeting every 2 weeks, because of that being such a helpful context to share work and develop work.
It feels, because there's a tendency, I think, at the moment for us to feel a little bit more isolated in the writing that we're trying to keep doing. I think it would be really lovely for that to be something on a regional level as well, that just helps you feel a bit more connected when those connections are a bit harder at the moment.
Tim?
Yeah, just have a question for Becky about how that's working sort of practically. Is that all on a Zoom call, and does the sound cut out or anything like that?
And just like this, really, yeah, just on a Zoom call. But I think that's why it's probably good to, if you're playing a song, or like, it's good to just share the track in advance so people have already had a listen. Otherwise, you just do share screen, and that seems to have been okay as well. Yeah.
So that's playing demos through the laptop.
Exactly.
Any live?
I don't think we really have so far. Yeah, it is quite a different remit, I guess, in a way, from the online open mic, and like the fantastic signals and everything that have been going on. It's been a sort of different format to that.
Peter. Oh, sorry, Did you go on, Tim? Because go on, Tim.
The one sort of Zoom call that my Southwest group had, I played a song on my guitar and sang it, and I'm told it sounded fine, but I nobody else played the song for me but just over Zoom, so apparently it didn't cut out too much. So I think my thought about an open mic night or a regional open mic night is it'd be a really good idea, and doing it on Zoom or something without having to worry about all of the technical wizardry that you need in order to do something like Signal is probably helps it stay accessible, and hopefully.
So I did wonder whether in that context it would be about writers recording their own thing. So you've got your pre-recorded song where you managed to do, you played and you sang and you're kind of happy with that, and then the kind of shared Zoom bit is, and I don't know, this could be very up for grabs, whether people then are able to respond to it, or whether there's more of a kind of mentoring thing that afterwards, if there's a rep there who'd be prepared to, they might have a conversation or give some feedback. I don't know whether that becomes a sort of mix of open night, so you're celebrating songs, but a little bit of lab in that there's a bit of feedback as well. Don't know. So Peter had a thought.
There's quite a lot of variables to like the quality, especially. So I mean, in this room I teach singing, and the piano's just here where you can't see, and I can be sending a great signal, but if someone's Wi-Fi is dodgy on the other end, then it will all break up. So 3 weeks ago we did a table read of just the dialogue of Act 1 of a musical, and Sunday we're doing the songs as well, but we've pre-recorded the songs, so I've sent out tracks. So we'll have a Zoom call where we'll do the dialogue live, but then I'll share the video of the song when we get to a song moment. It's just, I mean, don't get me wrong, at the end of the day, you know, even if there is a bit of intermittent issues with connectivity, I think it's all great that we're all there and supporting each other, for sure. But I kind of like that idea that we can. You also want your song to be your song or songs to be conveyed in the best possible way. And if your guitar or your piano cuts out because of some frequency issues on the Zoom call, then that can be. And I know from my experience, I've watched back recordings of stuff I've done. Sometimes I'm like, yeah, that sounds great, that's fine. And other times I'm like, oh, I really hope it wasn't that bad for everyone else, where every other word is lost. So,
yeah, I think we're quite forgiving at these moments, aren't we?
Oh, absolutely.
I hope. I just going to say, I did want to say hello to Jonathan, who's joined us. Could you tell us where you are, Jonathan?
I'm muted, so you wouldn't hear me drinking my coffee. Well, actually, you can see I'm in the South Seas.
Beautiful. Could we have a song, please, from the South Pacific?
Taking all over.
I think we can all get these, actually. If you're going to Zoom, you can just get your going to stop video, and there's you can get your own pictures up. So I fancied pretending. I'm in Hammersmith. I'm in Shepherd's Bush. I'm in London. But I'd like to be next to a palm tree. I could have my own yucca.
Moulin Rouge.
Yeah. I could have set this up with a green screen and a yucca, but I don't think I'd be able to do the lapping of the waves very well. So sorry I was so late. I apologize.
Don't worry, you're very welcome. Thank you.
Can I just make a point about the fact, I don't know what you're finding with, I've attempted to do some stuff. I use an app called Acapella when I've got a singer and a guitarist, and we just put songs up. You can't, because of latency, you can't do it live. So I record the guitarist, I then sing the vocal, and I then we've got the same backing singer who I pretend are twins. It's the same girl. And they become Jenny and Kenny rather than Jenny, as she is. And that actually gives the impression of being a live performance. But when you ever see any of these 70 people on a Zoom call playing, they've all recorded each one separately, because you just can't do it. It's not, the technology doesn't work. So I've just been attempting to do that. But I mean, I'm very interested in all of this because I wrote a musical. I did a workshop of it at the Dance Attic via the So and So Arts Club, which was Sarah Berger, which is in Fulham, and she's actually mooted the possibility with me of filming it in some way. Now I'm bemused to how on earth we do this, but separately with distanced, socially distanced performances with camera on each one, with a kind of rehearsal period where nobody really meets, which I have to say I can't quite, she's directing it. I can't see how that's going to work, but it's trying to make the whole thing, in our lockdown environment somehow get something out there. But even then, I'm still not convinced anybody would be interested in watching it if I was to stick it on YouTube with a subscription, whatever you do. I don't, it's a bit of a mystery, but you just wonder whether you're then wasting something if you then put it up on YouTube, whether that's it, whether that then can't be approached if we ever get back to doing live performances, whether you've shot your bolt, you've done it with that, if people do watch it. So I'm bemused, but I'm open to, it's why I'm here at the moment. I'm open to any suggestions. I'm intrigued as to how we could possibly create something that has a life, you know.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm all for saying, you know, do what you can, you know, get things up on YouTube. I don't think it would stop a future live performance. And, you know, I've had singers asking or writers asking whether, you know, a singer sings something at Signal, then they can also sing it at the Stars and Drew Prize or whatever. And just, yes, I'm just saying yes all the time. I think it's, you know, being out there, getting your work seen.
It's if it's not very good, it's that thing, thinking if it's not very good, it's people go, well, that wasn't very good, was it? That's the end of that then. You know, and you've put all your work into it. It's dragging it up again, you know.
But you've got to put your stuff out there. I mean, but if you don't think it's good enough, then
no, I was thinking
put it live.
No, I was thinking more of the technological aspects,
Oh,
making it not a good setup. It's like, you know, the director saying to me, "Oh, we'll shoot each part of this separately." And the performers then you're then editing it together. It becomes something else. And if you don't edit it terribly well, or it's not coming across as your of how you ever envisaged it, is that, you know, do you start again? It's that thing. I'm very aware previous stuff I've written which has been cocked up in some way, not to do with me, with a different interpretation, or a director not getting it right, or bad actors, where it then becomes past work, where in actual fact you think, I'm sure there's something in that, and yet it almost gets lost. So that's my fear.
One of the takeaways I've had in the digital work that I've been working with is that we have to just be really honest about the fact that this is, maybe it's in development, maybe it is at a certain stage, or that this has been filmed during lockdown individually and strung together. Yeah. And I don't think there's no harm in trying to pretend it is something that it isn't. It's a quiet plug for a project I'm working on at the moment, but we've just created Birdsong, a new production that's been completely filmed in lockdown, which is lucky for us, getting huge 5-star rave reviews, but it was a significant process. And I think we had to be really honest and said, we filmed this on mobile phones with green screens on Zoom, and then we edited it together. But we're fortunate to have a phenomenal editor. But it is something that we put together within 31 days and distributed, and we've been very honest about that process.
Is there a cost thing going on there? Because that's the trouble, you know. It's
there
the
is.
Thing is, you this thing that she's mooted. She said to me, "Oh, it's going to cost you 20,000." What do we? Hang on.
And so I'm not sure the cost for the running, but we've then been very honest and said, we put 2 previous productions on that we just filmed as everything closed. We were quite honest, and we said, look, you can pay £2.50 or upwards if you'd like to make a donation. It was cheap as chips. Lots of people enjoyed it. For this one, we've said, look, we've had to make this entirely in lockdown. We've hired 13 green screens. It's been significantly harder, faster. We have changed our pricing model. And so there's been some chats in a producer's chat I was on Tuesday, said that the marketers were suggesting that you just really need to be really honest about the amount of work that's gone into this, that when you go from charging for free content to paid content as well, you just need to say, this cost us just as much as it would have in the theatre to not do it in the theatre. Just because you're not in the theatre doesn't mean we didn't do the work that we would have done to get it to the theatre. So I've got heaps of learnings I can dig into at another point if anyone wants to have a chat about that.
And there might be interesting things. On one of the first discussions we had back in the start of May was about tech in lockdown, and there that we can direct people to that, can't we, Ellen? Just thinking that there's some good hints there on the technical side. And just, this is a slight aside, but talking to the producers of Six, people may have seen that Six is going to be out in car parks and open spaces, and their singers have to be 3 meters apart from each other. That's what they've been given. With a show like that, it's possible, and they're going to be in big spaces and they can sing 3 meters apart. But these are, you know, considerations that an awful lot of work can't do that. But yes, they've sold an awful lot of tickets already. So, I mean, brilliant that they're out there and doing it, but it's, yeah, a certain type of piece of work. handle that. Any other thoughts on what people, and it's lovely that, you know, we're not particularly London based on this screen, that regionally people would like to see or would like to imagine could be possible in terms of regional connections and meeting up? Or
can I just say hello?
Hi, Jackie.
Hi, yes, just to say, I think the connecting up is really important at the moment regionally, because rightly or wrongly, we are trying to write for something live at the moment. And it's like there's this abrupt stop. You know, I know everybody's got this. And it's being creative really together about how we can put our productions on, in what ways can we alter things so that for the moment we can still, how can I put it, have the spirit, and yet link up and maybe be creative as people have been talking about, and do it slightly differently in car parks. I don't know. We've just all got to think we've got to think round it. That's where I'm coming from. It's just a sort of sense of being able to talk to other people about which way to go.
Yeah, and I guess if that's possible on a regional level, you have got some sort of shared sense of, well, actually together as musical theatre artists, we could maybe approach that venue or that car park or that field or whatever.
Car park or that field or some venue or other. You know, there are all sorts of possibilities, but we just need to. It's something we've just suddenly got to think about, which just wasn't there before. You know, it's a whole new thing, and probably good things will come out of it because we've got to be more inventive than we were before. But I do think that, yes, being able to do that with other people is hugely helpful.
Yeah. Well, I would say that while we're kind of settling the regions, you know, I think for people to be crossing boundaries is completely fine at this moment as well. You know, if you need to kind of, if you don't have somebody right on your doorstep, but you think, oh, that group,
the West Midlands, or yes.
Ian, was it Ian who wanted to? Yes.
Yeah, I suppose I wondered whether people think we're going to see new venues emerging. I mean, there has been, you know, some news about Six traveling around and so on, drive-in theatre. It feels as though outdoor spaces are a bit safer. You know, I'm wondering whether big kind of stately homes and things that might have previously put on Jules Holland and his band or something, you know, could be open to doing more with musical theatre. And how do we, you know, if that's a possibility, how can we make it happen? And maybe there is something that could happen within the regions, which is some sort of joint approach on behalf of the writers, you know, to some of these venues, or to get strategic alliances up and running with production companies or something. Because, you know, as writers, we tend to be kind of head down, fully occupied doing the writing or making demos or, you know, whatever it is. We've got a pretty full week already, and we don't have the skill set to think about staging and lighting and audience ticketing and, you know, revenue streams and things. So I wonder if perhaps on a regional level, there could be any strategic alliances set up, but where we use, you know, the fact that we're working together to get a bit more critical mass and momentum behind that.
That's a really interesting point. I'm wondering whether we should think about a discussion around that, around the alternative venues. I know that when we had our artistic directors panel, Daniel Evans at Chichester Festival Theatre was talking about how at the end of the summer they're going to use their outside space to have a stage for music, I think, and then a space for film. Of course, they have space all around them. I'm thinking somewhere like the Royal and Derngate or Northampton, there is, you know, so many of our big city sort of regional theatres have no outside space. So it'll be really interesting to see how they link up. But I think your point about whether we could, find out what's going on.
Yeah, I know we all want to support the existing theatres, not draw the business away from them, if you like, because they're going to need as many bums on seats as, you know, possible and is allowed in the future. But it feels as though some of them anyway, do have some outside space. If you look at the Lowry, you know, at Salford Quays, there's a lot of concrete outside. There's a waterfront. You could do something creatively with that. I've seen things happen occasionally like that, where actors come running out of the, you know, out of the building and do something on the waterfront. You know, so maybe we've just got to think laterally and try not to undermine the existing theatres, but at the same time try and maximise the opportunity for writers and, you know, for actors and everyone else who's involved in putting things on.
I mean, in that artistic director discussion, it was fairly positive. We were always quite surprised about how positive people are doing, because it's such, everything, you know, is so challenging. But where they talked most encouragingly about musical theatre was that this sort of the potential of letting audiences into process, and how, as we all know, in this group, musicals take so long to develop. So that sense that different moments of the development process could be quite interesting to open up to audiences. So there was quite a, and of course, the classic argument of, in times of desperation and recession and post-war, people need musicals. You know, people need to feel that rush you get and the joy and what, you know, what we can offer and deliver. So it did come out of that sort of slightly optimistic, but I think this point of working with those people and thinking about new spaces is definitely something we need to be doing.
Is there a quick way
Hello,
to delete?
yeah, just me. Can you all hear me?
Hello,
Okay.
Steve.
Yeah, hello. Yeah, I was just going to say that site specific is always exciting. I think it's exciting for an audience. So you know, if you have a sort of particular show that is, you know, sort of begs for a certain sort of site, and I was thinking, just flash I fancy writing a musical about swimming pools now. I can imagine all the actors bobbing around in a big swimming pool. But yeah, but I remember going to see a show. It was Guys and Dolls, actually, in Brixton Prison, one of those, and people. The tickets were actually snatched up because, of course, most people have never been to prison before. So it was actually the prisoners that were doing the show. But you know, the actual being there was just exciting in a sense. And, so I think site-specific is, especially if it sort of matches a particular show, I think is you know, you've got two things going for you, really.
Yes, absolutely. There has to be a way forward there. Yeah, Neil?
Yeah, I don't know, as a writer though, I feel a bit at sea in a way about how stuff is put on, because most of us, I think, are writers, so we're writing our songs, we're writing our shows. I feel like it's not my area of expertise to how to deal with staging stuff in, you know what I mean? I think if this lockdown period is, well, it's opening up, I know, but we can't really perform live. I think it might be often better to take advantage of the video side of things. And I mean, if you can afford, if you've got a day job and you can afford to pay a singer, and if you can't play, then a musician and make just a really nice videos of your songs, just a simple videos of your songs with a singer singing into a microphone. If the song is really good, you know, I mean, obviously, it's that everyone's in different circumstances. I've got a day job, so I can afford to pay singers something. But I'm aware that some people have no work and they can't afford to pay anything. But equally, singers, if you know singers who are your friends, they'd probably be delighted to do it for free if it's a brilliant song. And, you know, so talking about these big, massive venues is like a little bit scary to me because it's like way out of my comfort zone. But I'm just trying to think of that, because I'm making a video at the moment, a choir video. God, it's difficult. But basically, that kind of small, it doesn't take much to make a video. You can put it online. It's a record of your song. I think it's a good way of everyone's indoors. There's loads of actors out of work. Sadly, it's awful. So that's a good way of using your time in lockdown, I think, is to make some of your best make videos for some of your best songs.
Could I just sort of beg people doing videos, having watched quite a few now of songs from musicals, there seems to be this whole trend of being in a studio watching someone on a mic, and you know, and you know, it's becoming very predictable, and I can understand why people do it, but on the other hand, there is the availability of as Jonathan is demonstrating, of green screen, for instance. I wish people would be a bit more imaginative, I think, when they you know.
Oh yeah, good point. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you know, but whatever your creative strengths lie, obviously some people will be great with all that visual stuff as well, which is fantastic. So yeah, but it's, you know, it could be reasonably cheap, you know, to do, as opposed to an outdoor venue event, is what I'm getting at.
There's some really good points in there, Neil. I think that whole element of singers, musicians being paid wherever they can be is so important, and trying to, yeah, I think at the beginning of lockdown there was such a sort of outpouring of goodwill, and people were doing masses for nothing, but in my perception, and I by all means haven't seen everything that's going on, but more is becoming monetized, or more is, you know, there are funds coming in, and I think that's all really important, that we kind of go, actually, as artists, we do need to be paid, we do need to eat, we don't survive off air, please recognize that. But it's tricky because probably those amounts are never going to be what, you know, what you would be charging for ticket prices and things. So yes, it's just on the way, isn't it? Just something on the way to getting back to some sort of element of being properly paid. So the only other thing I was just going to mention, then I've seen Finn's coming in next, your thought about what's expected of writers, and I think that's really, you know, that's really tricky. To be a writer is a massive thing in itself, and I know, you know, there's people in this group who have immense skills that they've learned along the way because they've had to produce, direct, perform, fundraise, all the rest of it. So you know, I take my hat off to those people who've developed all those skills, but I think it's also absolutely have permission to go, I am a writer, that's what I do, and there are people out there with those producing skills, or, you know, our partners MTN, that's absolutely what they exist to do. So that's fine too. Finn.
I was just going to say, just sort of like chip in quickly about the kind of debate about sharing work in this moment, I guess, and video, and I've found it really hard to sort of differentiate between what is like a finished product that I'm sharing, and also what is just sort of trying to engage people that are interested in my work, or that might be interested in what I'm doing, in the process behind the making, and kind of actually, as artists, when venues aren't putting things on there, maybe it's an opportunity to kind of, you know, it doesn't always have to be finished, kind of polished product, because there was some debate about that being costly and all of that stuff, but that people also just like to more and more be part of that process, I think, and see things when they're at work in progress stage. And that doesn't mean that a year later that song might get cut from the show or might change, but I think that's also valid, I guess, and that not everything has to be. Just if that's helpful, I guess, was just a thought that sharing things can be more about sharing the process rather than always having to put the finished work out there, I guess. And that's the sort of way that we can cultivate audiences for ourselves during this time, I suppose, as individuals too. Yeah.
And I guess it comes back to what Ellen was saying about, I guess, being very clear about saying this is a bit of work in progress, you know, but actually this I've paid for, and I want this to be top quality, and I'm showing you a bit of product here. But yeah, sorry, Finn.
No, just exactly that. But I think just being clear with with myself about which one of those it is, I suppose, and then that sort of gives it permission for it to be rough around the edges, and that's okay, I think. Yeah.
Because you've been doing those lovely, I think you started very early on in lockdown doing the Instagram concerts. Yeah, I was going to say, is that, do you feel like you've been able to connect with more people through doing things online at this time?
I really have, actually, and it's been, I mean, and that's kind of separate a little bit to my musical theatre stuff in that I do stuff as a singer-songwriter as well. yeah, since the Sunday before we went into lockdown, I kind of started and ended up keeping it up for 14, 15 weeks weekly. Wow. I've stopped now, but yeah, lots of new people kind of came into my world during that time, I guess, and there was some of them are people that interest in musical theatre, some of them are not, but it definitely it really helped. I wrote more, but I also was more willing to share that I just had a little bit of, I didn't always share full songs. And actually the fact that it was live made it feel that I could do that, because it wasn't necessarily me saying, here's a thing I've worked on for ages and ages, but here's a thing I'm working on and I'll play a bit of it for you. And the liveness of it sort of gave me permission for it to be more about connection rather than perfection, I guess. Which I found really liberating. So yeah, and you just need an iPhone, and then you but you also need to be able to perform your own material, and not everyone feels comfortable with that, and I totally recognize that as well. So yeah, but yeah, that's been helpful for me also, just to have a reason to get out of bed in the morning.
Good. I don't know if there is anyone here who's found well, I guess found it difficult to do stuff, that motivation, but whether there's any thoughts in terms of how to get over that, how to get yourself writing. I know we talk a lot about deadlines, and even if they're slightly fake deadlines, either giving them to ourselves or getting somebody else to. And various writers I ring every now and then just to go, okay, have you done that? But that's because they've reached out to me and said, please give me some deadlines, please make me write. But I don't know what there are things that other people have found that help.
Make a list.
Neil?
Yeah, I think if you just say to a singer, I'd love to do a demo of this song and I'll pay you X amount, then you've put some money into it, and you're forced then to, right, I've got to finish this song now. Someone's relying on me to deliver them a song. So I think, and it's going to benefit you both, because you get a lovely little video of your song, and then you've got to get it right. So because it's going to be a record. I mean, obviously not perfect, but and just songs are good because they're what's the word? Achievable deadlines, like
finite.
A whole musical is a massive deal, but song by song, it's you can write a song in a day, get it recorded the next day or the day after.
Brilliant. That's very motivating, Neil. I expect all of you to do that. Alex.
Hello there. No, I was just going to say there's an awful lot of musical theatre students sat at home at the moment wanting to record songs, and I've seen quite a few of them recording work by new writers, and I've also seen people putting out appeals saying, okay, none of us have any money at the moment, but if you would like to help out a writer by recording their song, we can then give you some exposure in return. So that's another possible opportunity if people have work, but they're like me and sound like a frog when they start singing.
In fact, people might be aware of the competition that Darren Clark did with the new UK musicals, which was absolutely about getting new writing out there and sung by, and I think a lot of that was sung by students. And I think there's another one of those sort of competitions coming up, actually, of just trying to get new work and then putting it out there and saying to singers, please record this. And there's a bit of money for winners, but there's also the potential of being on that money for the singers in terms of winners, but access to the new UK musicals website for the writers. So just those incentives of try and get some new work out there, try and get some more work recorded.
I might do another one because I'm not sure that markets are
I just wonder if there's any sort of, if MMD Musical Theatre Network maybe could set up some sort of database for those singers and musicians that actually do want sort of work.
Yes, well, there is. So Darren Clark has been so busy in lockdown that he has set up a database of musical theatre performers and one of actor musicians. But were you thinking more about writers?
No, I was thinking of a source, because I found it initially, haven't been out of the biz for some time, to find people
They're a creative
to actually
bunch.
sing my songs. I mean, eventually I did. I say mainly
And it's time my
students
husband to shut up.
who had just left, or their appropriate course. But I thought it'd been fantastic if there had been a database for those who.
Ellen, is that something you could share in the chat? Have you got
yes,
easy access to it?
I'll share the link now.
Thank you.
And I can
Sorry,
see
Chris is waving. Chris.
Well, I was going to say, I mean, I've been through the process of casting my musicals. So you have a choice of Spotlight, you have a choice of Mandy, mandy.com. I think if you go on mandy.com and you have to write down your project, what you want to get out of it. And there's a choice, you're either paying the going rate, which is the working wage, isn't it? And Mandy's got all the details of going that route, or you can put something on there as an opportunity. I think that's quite a good thing to do, because you can be honest about who you are, what you've got, and if it's something which excites people out there that they want to be involved with, they will respond to you. And then you have this problem of casting, of course, and working out who it is that you actually need and want for the job. But that's a very good way to go, and it's a very good discipline, because it's not, oh, I've got a song, but why have you got a song, and what's it about, and where are you trying to get to? And you start the process of actually selling what you've got to other people. So that's what I do, mandy.com. There are others.
Thank you, Chris. I'm just aware of the time, but Jonathan's got his hand up.
I just wanted to say I've used Mandy, and I find very many of the artists are dreadful. So be very wary of Mandy. They really are. It is the arse end of actors. And
there are worse ones than Mandy.
I've wasted my time so much dealing with actors on Mandy who write lies in their CVs. Be very careful of that platform.
Well, you can always ask them to record a piece of your music.
Indeed, you absolutely. That's the best way, obviously, of going via, and also via a video, but very few and far between.
But
and
I think
Spotlight seems to be a better route.
Where they've been acknowledged.
Sorry.
So you can weed them out to the probables.
But I think for all of us, this new one that's just gone in the chat is a good place to go, because it's about people who are passionate about new musical theatre, which is really, our territory. And I've just seen it is 2:00. I want to say a massive thank you to our reps. Such a great chat, and so good to be connected to the regions, and we will get those Facebook pages up and running. Thank you to members who've come and joined us today. It's very lovely to see you all, and it just is feeling more and more important that we have these moments to connect up. And at MMD we're there. Come and talk to us. please talk to us. We've got the Stars and Best New Song Prize this coming Sunday, and at that we're launching a new fund called the Keep Writing Support Fund, which is about people who potentially want to be part of MMD, and if money is a barrier, we're looking at bursaries for people to join us. So we're raising money for MMD membership, and that's about getting writers to keep writing. We've got more discussions, panels coming up as well. So do keep in touch with us, and hopefully see you at another drop-in. And a big thank you to everyone. We have to now do the obligatory Zoom wave. Thank you all.
Thank you.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.
Thanks for everybody. Bye-bye.
Thank you.